What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for your unscripted episode number 76 for Sunday, June 30th, 2019. We are going to have our Fyter Fest review. Fyter Fest going off the air about an hour ago. When I record this, I wanted to get through Fyter Fest and talk about every hugely biggest news story we had all week in WWE, and that is Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman are going to be quote-unquote executive directors of Raw and Smackdown Live, respectively. We'll talk about that. Also, Will Ospreay owns Seth Rollins on Twitter. And a little bit more Fox and stuff, and we're going to talk about that all tonight today on Unscripted. This has been just a crazy week. We had Stomping Grounds last week. Last Sunday was Stomping Grounds. The absolute worst booked show ever. Now, it wasn't a terrible show. And it seems like when fans have the least interest in a show, the WWE superstars do everything in their power to go out there and give you a good show. And honestly, Stomping Grounds, between after the Lacey Evans match until we got to the cage match, the other matches on that main card were pretty good, decent to good, to great. And then we had the world title matches, and they were both terrible. I put a poll out there on Wednesday, and I only got 4 votes, but that's fine, of which was the better cage match, Io Shirai and Shayna Baszler, or Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston. Of course, 3 out of 4 said, of course, Shayna Baszler and Io Shirai. One person thought Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston, and I don't know what that one person was doing, but that was an awfully bad cage match. I said it on Tuesday and I said it on Wednesday. The match between Kofi and Dolph Ziggler on Tuesday was better than anything they did in that cage match. The biggest reason why the crowd... and Brian Alvarez was there. Brian Alvarez of the Wrestling News Radio was there that night. He watched that match live. And one of the things he mentioned is that there were no screens showing this match. You couldn't see it on the Tron. They don't put it on the Tron anymore. They didn't have any screens above because the Comodome is so old. They only have really the Titantron. Well, apparently Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn believe that projecting the matches on the screen is distracting. Yet you have fans in this crowd who can't even see the match because of the angles and everything, and they rely on that screen to use. And they just didn't have it happen. Now, I do want to talk about the Heyman and Bischoff stuff, but I want to get into Fyter Fest, which happened from 7:30 if you watch the buy-in, all the way up until 11 o'clock. I thought we were going to be done exactly at 11 or 11-ish because Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela, the unsanctioned match, was done 1, 2, 3, and I look at my phone and it's 11 o'clock on the dot. And at the end of that match, we had an attack. This was a good show. This was by leagues far better than what we got at Stomping Grounds, for sure. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you say that Stomping Grounds was better than this show, I don't know what to tell you. This show was fantastic. SCU, Private Party, and the Best Friends winners advance to All Out for a shot at the first round bye in the World Tag Team Championship Tournament. I'm hoping, I know at All Out we're going to find out what the Women's Championship looks like, but I'm hoping we'll see what the tag team titles look like, or we're going to wait until we get to the tag team tournament. Because if I'm the tag teams going for these tag team titles, I want to know what the prize I'm looking for. This match was fast-paced. You had Trent Beretta, Chucky T, of course, are the Best Friends. You had Kazarian and Scorpio Sky because Shima and Chris Daniels were going to start off the main show for SCU, and then you had can't remember what the hell their damn names are, but you had Private Party, which they were trending actually on Twitter. Private Party was trending on Twitter, so they made their name in this match. This match was fast-paced, as I said. This match was absolutely fantastic. So much to go through in this match that I can't even justify going through it all the way, but Cassidy trying to fight off SCU gives a huge pitch. Let's go, and as SCU ends up destroying him, cover for a 2 count. SCU trying to finish him off. Cassidy shoves Scorpio into Kazarian, who gets stuck in the top turnbuckle. Quinn climbs to the top. Trent comes in and looks for a German suplex. Quinn lands on his feet. Quinn with a Hurricane Rana on Kazarian, straight into a cutter by Cassidy. That is their finisher. I honestly think that is awesome. Trent and Cassidy, I can't remember what their full names, Quinn and Cassidy, Private Party. It's a Hurricane Rana into a cutter combination. Haven't seen anybody else do it besides these two. They did do it at the buy-in Battle Royal, the Casino Battle Royal at Double or Nothing. That you would have missed it because it was just the way the camera angle worked. You didn't really see how awesome it looked. Scorpio breaks it up. Trent and Chuck blast Cassidy with a kick and knee. They look for Strong Zero, hit it on Cassidy for the 1, 2, 3, and the best friends move on to All Out to fight whoever they're going to face. Probably we're going to see another match like this at Fight for the Fallen, which is in 2 weeks and the winner of that will face these two at All Out, which is going to be happening in Chicago the night before the 1-year anniversary of All In. Post-match, they're celebrating, they're in the ring, you know something's going to happen, and then the lights come out, the lights come back on. Well, there's a video package, and it's just the Dark Order. They say they want the best friends in their first AEW match, and lights go out. Lights come back up, and you have 3/4 of the ring covered outside, covered in at least 2 minions each. Lights go out, lights come back on. It was really weird though because they had these 6 guys out there, Chucky T and Trent Barreto, just looking around like, "What the hell's going on? Are we gonna get attacked or something?" And it seemed to go on for way too long. And then lights go out, lights come back on, and everyone's gone, and the guys are gone. Crowd still, I don't think, is into this. There was a bunch of booing for this entire thing. I think they were disappointed that the Dark Order, which was the Super Smash Bros., didn't get involved and beat the hell out of Chucky T, and Trent Barreto. But that was that. Backstage, Matt and Nick Jackson were worried about the show. They said they were bleeding money, and it's too bad they couldn't make a documentary about what's going on. They realized the camera's watching them, and they talk about all the things going wrong with the show. Bad food, no tents, kiddie pools. They're making fun of the Fyter Festival, which is what this is. Which is what this whole thing. The reason it was called Fyter Fest is due to the Fyter Festival a couple years ago, a big scam. When he shows up with the Young Bucks, they don't even have their gear. Omega says they have new gear on the way this second, and it will all work out. Matt says the new gear is great, but it blew through half the budget, and now they can't afford half the models on the stage. 2 were just sent to the back, and out come 2 mannequins in bikinis and put in their place. The librarians, Levi Bates, also known as Lou Pants, and Peter Avalon are on the stage. Avalon was hanging out in one of the tents. They exchange some words with each other. Avalon suddenly gets mad and sends one of the tents into the pool, then destroys one of the mannequins, which people were laughing about. Bates says she knows there's a lot of gamers here, but there's so much more out there at their fingertips inside of a book. Crowd boos and chants, "We can't read." So just love the fact that the crowd got into it. He talks about more power in books than just manga and comic books. Avalon and Bates get into a shush-off, and Allie comes out. Crowd wasn't sure what to make of the whole segment. Pretty quiet for most of it. Allie versus Leva Bates. This one kind of went under the radar when it came to being announced. It was, I think, on an ITV advertisement for it. This match was not good. I don't know what it was about Allie and Leva Bates, but these two just didn't seem to mesh well. The match was slow. The match was like a slog. It just felt like this match just did not feel like these two connected at all. And I know Leva and Allie are better than this match. Honestly, this was, I think, the weakest match of the entire night. The triple threat match, women's match we got on the main card was much, much better than this match. I don't know what happened here. It just seemed like they were off. They were slow. They were trying to, it just felt like they were on 2 different wavelengths. Like, Allie wanted to do one thing, and then Leva wanted to do another thing, and it just, they clashed. They just clashed, and it just felt off. Completely off. Now, it did pick up towards the end. When Allie finally got some chops in, she screams at Bates, who gets sent across the ring into the corner. Bates drives her knee into Allie, cover for 2. Bates throws wild punches, misses. Allie lands her punch and chops Bates in the corner. Allie with a back elbow and big sliding elbow. Allie tries for a super kick. Caught rough looking lung blower hits. Bates hits a modified pedigree. Hammer kind of missed it, so it was hard to tell. Cover to Avalon on the apron, throws a book, but it ends up going to Allie. Allie tosses the book to Bates. She just kicks, lands a super kick and gets the 1-2-3. Again, it picked up a little bit towards the end, but this match honestly just was not good. This match felt like the six-man tag match and the Michael Nakazawa and Alex Bailey, which I was surprised at how good Alex Bailey did. Felt like if they would have put them as the opener to the main card, I wouldn't have been mad. This one felt like it belonged on the pre-show. This match was not good. And I'm kind of disappointed because I'm a fan of Allie and of Leva Bates from her Blue Pants days and the fact that she's the wrestling cosplayer. She's been Cody, I believe she's been The Undertaker, she's been other superstars and other things. This was not a good start for her AEW career, and whatever they have her wrestling next, I hope is a better match. Michael Nakazawa versus Alex Bailey. This was a fun match. I actually loved this match. I'll give it up to Bailey, who's not a seasoned veteran or something. This was fun. I enjoyed this match. Alex Bailey held his own. It was better than what you thought it was going to be. Was it Stephen Amell versus Christopher Daniels from All In? No, not that well. Was it, what's his name? That football player who was in Impact Wrestling in the tag team match with Moose? No, but this was still a hell of a match. Michael Nakazawa, on the night before things get going, says, Bailey cheated to win last year, and that's why CEO sucks. Nakazawa mentions Bailey's injury to the right leg, which he did mention that people were talking about EVO, which is the granddaddy of them all when it comes to combat, when it comes to gaming fighting tournaments. And of course, I got a boo from fans. Bailey corrects him that it was his left, and Nakazawa says, "Thank you for the information," drops the mic, and attacks the left leg of Alex Bailey. Bailey does hit a hip toss, creeps power slam, looks for a waist lock. Nakazawa busts open the baby oil and slides out. Bailey kicks him in the back, tries again, but slips on the baby oil as he goes off the rope. Referee slips too. Nakazawa puts the oil on Bailey's stomach. I did not want to see Alex Bailey's stomach being shown off. Then slips over him and falls, and he does a double stomp, but with the baby oil there, he slips and hits him, and it pretty much leads to a bag, senton on the back on him. On the outside, Bailey sends him into the barricade, grabs a clipboard, and breaks it over Nakazawa's head. He hands a fight stick. He's handed a fight stick, jams it into the stomach, and then smacks it over his back for a cover of 2. Bailey had him work towards the stage. Bailey ends up submerging, just dunking Nakazawa's head into the little kiddie pool that they had on the side of the ramp. Nakazawa gets up and spits some water into his face, misting his face with some water. Hits him with a blow-up toy. Bailey ends up dumping Nakazawa into the pool and brings him back into the ring. Bailey looks under the ring and sends a controller and a kendo stick into the ring. He puts a table on the outside of the ring. Nakazawa smacks in the head with the controller. It was a GameCube controller. Why that was in there is beyond me, but this is, of course, the CEO. Looks to suplex his opponent. No, Nakazawa bites him. Referee gets sent into Bailey, but he hangs on. Nakazawa charges and hits a spear, sending Bailey through the table. I'm just going to tell you now. I don't like it when Big E does it, spearing somebody who's on the apron to the outside. I'm not going to like it when anybody does it. That's one of the more dangerous moves in all of professional wrestling because you're landing most of the time straight on your head, and the one bump too many is going to be your last. Nakazawa brings him back in the ring. He lifts Bailey up and decides to crack him a couple more times with the kendo stick. Michael Nakazawa then goes and pulls his thong that is underneath his wrestling tights from under his wrestling tights and tries to secures it onto his hand and tries to do an iron claw or something onto Bailey, but he ducks and suplexes Nakazawa on his head. That looked brutal. Bailey dumps out a bunch of game controller buttons, which all had his face on them, which, you can't show nepotism without, showing your face on everything. Back body drops Nakazawa onto them, cracks him a bunch of times with the kendo stick. Nakazawa tries for the thong attack again, ends up hitting the referee. DiBella with a low blow rolls Nakazawa up, but the referee is still dazed. Nakazawa counters with a pin attempt with the thong on DiBelli's face for the 1, 2, 3. Michael Nakazawa beats Alex DiBelli in what was a fun match. I'll say it was fun. It hit its comedy spots were in the right spot. It wasn't overbooked. It wasn't too overbooked. It was just a lot of fun. Jon Moxley cuts a quick promo and says to the camera, if you don't know who or what Jon Moxley is, you're about to find out. He said something about leave those toys out there because I'll show you how to use them later tonight. That is your main event, Joey Janela versus Jon Moxley. The first match of the night for the main card at 8:30, Shima versus Christopher Daniels. A good match. These guys have a lot of history together. Shima was the one to pretty much help get Christopher Daniels to where he is today. He was the one to give, if I'm correct, Christopher Daniels mentioned that he is the guy who gave him his big break. I don't mean like one of the conquistadors in WWF during the Attitude Era. He was the guy to help Christopher Daniels at the beginning of his career. So when AEW first got started, Christopher Daniels made a challenge to Shima and 2 of his partners, and then a couple weeks ago on Being the Elite, I think it was Being the Elite, Shima called Christopher Daniels and wanted a match with him. So that's where we get this at. Shima and Daniels off to a quick pace. Daniels finally hits an arm drag and brings things to a halt. Daniels looks for a lariat. No, Shima lands a dropkick that sends Daniels to the floor. Shima with the basement dropkick sending Daniels into the barricade. Back in the ring, Shima initially gets the best of Daniels, but Daniels hits a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker. Shima to the floor. Daniels with a release overhead suplex goes back in the ring, and Daniels hits a scoop slam suplex. Hits the Arabian moonsault on Shima back and goes right into a crossface. Shima getting dumped into the corner. Daniels does an SCU chant, charges in and eats a kick. Shima with a backstabber, rolling Venus hammer, plants Daniels, hooks both legs for the pin and 2. Crowd fairly split for this match. Crowd was hot for the majority of tonight. They're outside of the Leva Bates and Ali match. The crowd was hot for the majority of this show. Daniels with a Blue Thunder Bomb. Beautiful. I think Sami Zayn still does a better Blue Thunder Bomb, but it was an effective one. Angel's Wings hit, but we only get a 2. Daniels cannot believe it. Shima with an Enziguri. Daniels for a second rope. Shima looks for a sunset powerbomb. Shima adjusts into a running powerbomb. Perfect driver. Cover 2. Shima plants Daniels to the mat. Heads to the top rope. Meteor lands. Pin 1, 2, 3. Shima beats Christopher Daniels, and in 2 weeks' time, we have 2 weeks. 2 weeks until we have fights for the Fallen. Kenny Omega will face Shima on that night. So it made sense for Shima to win this match. Yuka Sakazaki and versus Rio versus Nyla Rose. This was definitely a lot better than Ali versus Leva Bates. I am, again, disappointed with how just bad that match looked. I'm a fan of both of those women, but it just wasn't a good match. This was. Of course, Rio came out first. Nyla Rose came out second, and when Nyla Rose is coming out, they show Rio in the ring looking scared to death. Like, this woman's going to fuck me up. That was what it was. She just looked like she was scared to death. And of course, Yuka Sakazaki came out for that last. Now, Yuka Sakazaki is over with the fans. She was over in Las Vegas. She was over tonight as well. This woman is definitely just getting over naturally. You know one thing about that makes AEW better than WWE? You could take people like Yuka Sakazaki, Laredo Kid later in the night, and other no-names that people are the casual fans or a lot of the fans who don't follow wherever these people are from, and they get them over by just letting them be themselves. WWE, if you get over with the fans, WWE, unless they want you to get over, will kill you dead in the profession sports. If you're getting over with the fans for a catchphrase, if you're getting over with fans with your work, they will take you away, they will put you into catering, and you will be dead on arrival the next time they see you. They'll be like, oh yeah, I remember this person, they were here 6 months ago. I wonder what happened to them. Why are they gone? Why did they just now come back? That's why Sean Spears, aka Ty Dillinger, who was the master of the 10, was pretty much DOA after a month or two on the main roster because they didn't like the 10 chants. They didn't like the fans chanting 10. Well, we'll talk about Sean Spears later because, yeah, I can't wait to see what he has coming up for him later on. Rose sends both opponents into the corner, charges in, but nobody home. Yakazaki and Ryo try the Irish with Rose, but they get sent into each other. Like Nyla Rose let them throw her for a second, but she didn't let go, and she had just pulled them around her and slammed them together. Awesome spot. Let's see. They land a double drop kick to try to roll up Rose into a submission, but they both get whipped away. Both drop to the mat. Rose with a splash on both. Both slip out and under Rose, which I thought that was pretty cool. Goes on the attack. They try this for a suplex. Rose counters for a double suplex. Rose stacks both women up into a double camel clutch. They made Rose look like a beast in this match. She looked better in this match than the match that became a fatal 4-way at Double or Nothing. They eventually get to the ropes. Rose lifts Sakazaki and throws her on the Ryo. Ryo rolls to the floor. Rose tries for a suplex. No. Sakazaki with a Hurricane Runner that sends Rose out to the floor. Sakazaki looks to fly, climbs up to the top rope, and flies, taking out both women. Ryo sent back into the ring, and Sakazaki heads to the top. Dropkick lands, cover for a 2. Ryo fights back. Of course, Nyla Rose is on the floor at this time, so Ryo and Yuka Sakazaki pick up the pace a little bit because the bigger of the women is not in the match. Let's see. Sakazaki hits the top rope, dropkick lands, covers 2. Ryo fights back, dropkick misses, but she ends up landing a double stomp. Rose charges in, gets tripped up against the rope. 619. Rose eats some more aerial attacks. Ryo tries to roll up Sakazaki too, instantly double stomps her. Sakazaki with a running lariat on the ground. Ryo. Rose back to her feet. One punch sends Sakazaki to the mat. Rose taunts a bit, but to a chorus of boos. Sakazaki takes a moment to swing away on her opponent. Looks for a running lariat. Nope. Rose lifts up and plants Sakazaki lazy cover. 2. Rose hangs Ryo on the top rope. Rose climbs to the top rope and leaps for a hard knee drop down to Ryo. Crowd with a holy shit chant. Of course, she had Ryo on the hanging from the top rope and hit that knee shot. That was brutal. Rose doesn't get the cover. She heads back up to the top again. Sakazaki climbs up and slows Rose down, but eats a bunch of punches that sends her to the floor. Rose up top looks for a swanton. Nobody home. Ryo up to the top rope tries for a crossbody caught. Sakazaki on top, and she gets caught too. With the Sakazaki with a roll up through, but it is a 2 count. Ryo knees Sakazaki. Sakazaki with a snap suplex looks for a magical splash. Ryo gets the knees up. Rose with a nasty release German suplex on Sakazaki. Rose with a beast bomb cover. Ryo driving knee that puts Sakazaki in a pinning position. Ryo has to break that up. Rose drops Ryo, but is slow to get up. Finally goes for a cover 2. Rose looks for another beast bomb. Ryo rolls through, hooks the leg, and gets to 1, 2, 3. Ryo wins the match. Nyla Rose is shocked as hell that she let this get away from her. So definitely a hell of a match. First match, Nyla Rose attacks Ryo from behind, crowd booing. She looks for a beast bomb. Sakazaki with the save, double dropkick sends Rose to the floor. Sakazaki tries to help Ryo up and just gets shoved away, and Ryo is just shaking her head, no. As she gets out of the ring, Sakazaki looks like she is just heartbroken because she wanted to help Ryo up. They're probably friends was like she wants to try and be friends with her, and she wanted nothing to do with it. Kip Sabian joins commentary. He will face the winner of the upcoming Fatal 4-Way match, I believe, at the next pay-per-view. Adam Hangman Page versus MJF versus Jungle Boy versus Jimmy Havoc. MJF is gold. Absolutely fucking gold. This guy is the future of this business when it comes to being a heel. Look at all the big-time heels in WWE. Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, Samoa Joe, Bobby Lashley, I guess. They all suck. I mean, I love Drew McIntyre and Samoa Joe, but they are just hype. Nobody... And besides, Samoa Joe's not even really a heel, he's a tweener. He comes out there, he acts all heelish, but people are chanting, Joe, or doing Joe's gonna kill you, or whatever else. This guy comes out, he makes fun of the gamers in the own crowd. People chanting, "You suck." He says, "Your mother's basement that you live in, she swallows." Says, "I used to love video games too. Then I lost my virginity." This dude is fucking on fucking fire. This guy is the future of this fucking business. And awesome as he is. Of course, he said all that before Jungle Boy, Jimmy Havoc, and Adam Page came out. Of course, as we all know, at All Out in a month and a half. In 2 months, actually, I believe. Yeah, in 2 months from today. Oh, wait, is there 31 days in August? It's only 30, right? Well, 31, whatever. In like 2 months, Adam Hangman Page will be facing off against Y2J, Chris Jericho. I keep saying Y2J, but whatever. Chris Jericho for the first ever AEW Championship. That is going to be bonkers. That is going to be great. So this match, yeah, I love Jimmy Havoc as a guy who goes out there and does what the fuck he wants. He doesn't give a fuck about what anyone else says. I was so hoping we would have seen some kind of violence from this guy other than biting MJF's head. Yeah, I think he bit MJF's head. Yeah. This match was good. These guys, all four guys worked well together. MJF with a heap seeker on Page cover. Jungle Boy is able to stop it. MJF smacks Jungle Boy, who falls back into Luchasaurus, who catches him and swings him back up. Havoc then dumps Jungle Boy down on Luchasaurus. Havoc with a double stomp on down. I'm sorry, that's not Havoc. Was it Jungle Boy? No. It was that was MJF. Yeah. Cover 2. MJF with an eye poke to Havoc. Buckshot lariat hits Havoc because MJF and him were having a spill. MJF gets out of the way. Hangman Page with the buckshot lariat. MJF tries to steal the pin to go to All Out. I believe it's going to be Fight for the Fallen. It's Fight for the Fallen, yeah. He faced Kip Sabian. But MJF gets sent to the outside by Hangman Page. Page hits the rite of passage on Havoc for the 1, 2, 3. First match, Page and MJF yell at each other as MJF heads to the back. Then we had Cody versus Darby Allin. This match actually went 20... I like something that AEW is doing. Every single match except for the main event had 20-minute time limits. Every one of them. From this first match to the 6-man tag match, everything had a 20-minute time limit. I like that. I like the time limits because not every match has to end in a pinfall submission or no contest unless it is a time limit draw. Honestly, if WWE is doing this no wrestling during commercial breaks things, they could do that with 10-minute time limits. You get 10 minutes in the match, and then you go from there. But this was interesting. You had Darby Allin brought a body bag with the Cody 1-1 because Cody, of course, won at Double or Nothing, and he vowed to make Cody lose his first match. This match was mostly Darby Allin getting his ass kicked by Cody Rhodes for the majority of this match, but he did fight back a lot. This match went the full 20 minutes. But it's when people think back to for Fyter Fest for this show, it's not going to be Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin when it comes to Cody. It's going to be what happened after the match. But at the end of the match, Allin tries to top and drop on Cody, who is laying on the fucking apron's corner. Darby Allin goes up top, goes for a coffin drop. Cody moves. This motherfucker hits the spine of his back right on that edge. That, of course, is the hardest part of the ring, as they always like to tell us. So, that had to fucking hurt, and then they showed it a couple times. Cody ends up wrapping Allin into the body bag, hits the disaster kick, pulls him out of the bag, gets a 2 count. Allin was able to jump up and out of the bag, then falls back down. 1 minute remaining, he rolls up Allin. Allin kicks out at 1. Cody smacks Allin with a weight belt multiple times. 30 seconds, Cody with a kick. Crossroads. Allin kicks with a corner and a top rope stunner. Rhodes sends Allin on his head. Time counting down, and Cody misses the 3 count by 1 second. Ends in a 20-minute time limit draw. I loved it. The only thing that I would have to say is that I think they overdid it with the fact that he kicked it's going to be one of those things that Darby Allin is 175 pounds, and guys like him going up against other guys, it's going to be like that. The underdog mentality right there for him. This was interesting. This was a good match. Darby Allin held his own. He looked strong, but I don't want to know if they made him look too strong against Cody. Cody says, I want 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes with him. Darby Allin's thinking about, yeah, I want 2. All of a sudden, John Spears in the ring with a chair. Okay, this is wrestling, and headshots are usually gone. We're not doing many headshots anymore. Well, so Sean Spears decides he's going to take this and nail Cody in the head. And he just falls down. Cody falls down like a dead weight. Brandy gets in the ring and asks him what he's doing. John Spears looks over at Brandy and looks to do something to her, but the referee, who is the female referee, her name escapes my mind, I apologize, who just gets in the way and it makes sure that nothing happens to Brandy. Spears stares down at Brandy and makes his way out through the crowd. Cody has a gash on the back of his head that just starts bleeding. Like, he got wrecked so badly that it was just a big pool of blood. MJF is the first in the ring, not happy as he watches Spears leave. Scorpio Sky and Kazarian out to check on Cody. Commentary does a good job putting over how sickening this was for Spears to hit Cody with a chair shot. And we continue. They show the shot over and over and over and over again. I'm like, they're doing this over and over again. I go to the Wikipedia page because when they're doing something like this, I want to see how many matches left. Because I'm like, holy shit, there's only 2 matches left. We've gone through this show already, and there's only 2 matches left. And that would be the 6-man match, 6-man tag match, which is the official sanctioned main event, and then the actual main event, which was the unsanctioned Jon Moxley versus Joey Janela. But Cody Rhodes, it was tweeted out by AEW that he had 12 stitches and 0 concussion, so that is a good thing. He's going to be facing off with his brother against the Young Bucks at the Fight for the Fallen in 2 weeks' time. Now, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus Pentagon Jr., Phoenix, and Laredo Kid. This, of course, is stemming from the feud and rivalry between the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros. As we saw at Double or Nothing, they had the tag team titles on the line at Double or Nothing, in which the Young Bucks retained. They went to Mexico a couple weeks ago and lost the titles to Phoenix and Pentagon. I don't know if Phoenix and Pentagon lost them right away, but they did not have the tag team titles with them if they are still tag team champions. The Elite come out. And I like this. I love this. I'm a gamer, so I love this. We had the Elite music play, the BTE being the Elite music hit. And then they did Street Fighter music. And Matt and Nick Jackson are Ryu and Ken. Some goofball in a Young Buck shirt comes running up the ramp and starts rocking out with them. Lights go out. Lights come back on after they do a thing on it was Akuma. It was something that has to do with Akuma, and we see Kenny Omega standing there with his back to the camera with Akuma's marking on his back, his hair covered in red in a bun. So he was Akuma, while we had Ryu and Ken. Awesome entrance for them. Love it. They get to the match. They get to the ring, and they're telling Justin Roberts to say, "Round 1, fight." I popped for it. Even Phoenix was sitting there shaking his head like, oh, that's awesome. This was, if I'm going to be honest, crazy. It was a spot fest. Absolutely 100% a spot fest. Was it overbooked? That's up to debate, but this was definitely a spot fest. This was definitely a fun match. Kenny Omega, in my opinion, looked better in this match than his match with Chris Jericho. His match with Chris Jericho was good. This was better. These 6 guys were absolutely fantastic. Laredo Kid, just like last year in that 6-man tag match that really got its time cut short, the Laredo Kid looked like a fucking star. I believe I saw him, I didn't watch it, but I'm pretty sure I saw highlights or something of him in Impact Wrestling a couple weeks ago or last week or something. I know he's part of AAA, and I don't think they have exclusive rights to him in the U.S., so definitely want to check out Laredo Kid if you haven't yet. This guy put on a hell of a show. He was impressive. Jungle Boy, who I never got to see wrestle either before the Fatal 4-Way, impressed me as well. MJF was impressive. Jimmy Havoc, I hope to see him and Jon Moxley in a death match soon. But so many impressive showings tonight. And of course, Laredo Kid, as I said, this is how you get somebody over, WWE. Hey Vince, I hope you're listening. Watch Laredo Kid with the Young Bucks and the Lucha Bros and Kenny Omega. That's how you get somebody over who is not known to majority of your audience. That's how you do it. You let them go out there in the middle of the ring and show the world what they can fucking do. That's how you do it. I know Vince doesn't like being shown up, but they've shown him up in this instance. This was fantastic. This match, everything is taking turns with those big strikes. Pentagon takes out all of the Elite, hits a backstabber on Omega. Out on the floor, it's craziness. Laredo hits a big suicide dive. Matt gets stuck a trio roll position. Pentagon with the double stomp. I hate this fucking spot. I hate it. I hate it when Alberto Del Rio came back in, 5 years ago or something, when he came back and he changed his finisher to the trio roll double stomp, because you have your opponent sitting there holding the ropes, waiting for you to double stomp on them. I hate that fucking spot. It's so stupid. Let's see what we got here. 2 count. Omega trying to fight off all 3 opponents. Snapdragon suplexes on Pentagon, Phoenix. Big V-trigger into a Snapdragon on the Laredo Kid. Nick Jackson sent up to the floor. Phoenix runs and Pentagon back body drops him onto the floor. Up and over the corner. Down to Nick. Hell of a fucking spot. Think of Ricochet when he does that dive over the corner to the outside. It was pretty much something like that, only a back body drop. Laredo with a sick move, sending Omega to the mat. Cover 2. Multiple wrestlers are eating super kicks. The Elite trying to plan something, but end up eating more super kicks. The Elite then hit Street Fighter inspired Hadokens. Triple power bombs by the Elite for a 2 count. Everyone kicked out. Phoenix and Laredo both eat a 450 splash as they were being hung out to dry by Omega and I believe Nick Jackson. Nick spikes up Phoenix to the mat, tries to hit a Pentagon with a moonsault on the floor. No, Pentagon drops him. Omega hits the V-trigger on Laredo, sending him to the floor. Omega tries to fly, but Phoenix hits a big rolling nip-up cutter that stops that. Nick with the reverse cutter, which looked absolutely fucking brutal. It looked absolutely fucking brutal because Nick wanted to do the reverse cutter and Phoenix was too close into the ropes. That when he went to pull him back, it just looked like it was not a good spot. And Nick thinking he melts the driver out onto the floor, but no, as Phoenix hits a swinging Spanish fly on Nick off the top rope, down to the floor on Pentagon and Nick. Omega with a big V trigger to Laredo's face. 1 winged angel for a 1, 2, 3. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks win by pinfall. Post-match, Omega and Young Bucks celebrate. Omega tells the other team to jump into the ring, and Pentagon, Phoenix, and the Laredo Kid celebrate a bit in the ring as Omega shakes hands with everyone ringside and makes his way to the back, putting some selfies out there too. I believe JR and them mentioned it was okay. Alex Marvez was nowhere to be found on commentary tonight, which is fine. It was Phoenix. It was Excalibur, JR, and what's his name? Golden Boy, I think it is. I know he's a commentator for fighting games. Please make him the third man. Alex Marvez just isn't there yet. If they want him to be a backstage interviewer, that's fine. But the commentary team we got tonight was a great upgrade than what we got at Double or Nothing. I'm just saying. Now here's something interesting. Jim Ross puts over the fact that was the final match of Fyter Fest. That was the final official match as Jon Moxley and Janela is a lights out non-sanctioned event. Now, Justin Roberts did say that that match that we just saw was the final match of Fyter Fest. Now, when the lights go out and the lights come back on, there is one more match and it's going to be non-sanctioned. Joey Janela versus Jon Moxley. Now, Jon Moxley came out in jeans. I know we're used to seeing that, but then you go watch New Japan, and Jon Moxley is wearing shorts, tight shorts, short tights, and he came on. He had an interview, I believe, with New Japan's website, and said that he was done wrestling in jeans. So I was like surprised again that this guy came out in jeans. Maybe it was because it was a non-sanctioned match. I mean, Joe Janela came out in wrestling tights, but Jon Moxley came out in the jeans, the same jeans that he wore when he made his AEW debut. Now, he said he's done wrestling in regular jeans. Maybe these are special jeans that you could wrestle in, and they're not slow. They don't impede your movement or anything. There's something there. This was a bloodbath. This was an absolute bloodbath. Like, Cody had the most blood coming from one spot on their body, but Joe Janela really didn't have much blood coming out of him. But I sit there and I think, what did Renee Young think when her husband, Jonathan Good, aka Jon Moxley, was in this match getting barbed wire chairs struck into his back, getting thrown into one barbed wire board, thumbtacks on his back, and everything in between. These two tried to fucking kill each other. This was not a match for the faint of heart. This was Jon Moxley death match of 2000 whatever to 2000 I think 2011 when this guy was in CZW killing himself on a daily basis. This was absolutely fucking brutal. Thumbtacks, barbed wire not barbed wire mats, barbed wire chair, barbed wire boards, tables, ladder, elbow drop off a ladder onto Jon Moxley through a table. This match had every fucking thing that you could even ask for. These two killed each other, and these guys shortened their careers by a major, major way. Now, not much, like I said, I can't justify this match and try and talk about it as it's what it is. Now, there were 2 bags of thumbtacks. Okay. Moxley then takes the tacks and hits a elevated double underhook DDT to Joe Janela to win this match. They called it the paradigm shift. I know it's not the same. It's the same move that he used to win the IWGP US Heavyweight Championship in Japan at Dominion. I saw that match live. By doing that when you haven't had much sleep in the 24 hours beforehand. But I like the Death Rider name better than the Paradigm Shift. But they want to call it the Paradigm Shift, they can call it the Paradigm Shift. So, yes. Jon Moxley wins. Post-match. This match is over. The whole thing's done. We think, okay, that's everything. No. Kenny Omega did not forget about Las Vegas. Kenny Omega rushes to the ring, beats the hell out of Jon Moxley, puts him under a broken table. Gets up top, does a springboard, double foot stomp to Moxley while he's to Moxley's back while he's under the table, while there's thumbtacks and just gripped up. I thought I've seen Jimmy Havoc tear his body limb from limb. This motherfucker had just his back is not going to feel well tomorrow, tonight. It was pretty horrible. Moxley tries to fight back. Omega gets him and continues to swing away. He sends Moxley face first into a drum kick because there was a drum kick set to the side because the running gag before the show was that Kenny Omega had Blink-182 and some other bands and they all pulled out. So they had a couple of mics and a drum set just sitting there. Probably also taking a shot at WWE for having concerts at WrestleMania and stuff when they're not necessary. Omega hits Moxley with a couple of the microphones. He hits him with a drumstick. He grabs an electric guitar. And usually when you see a guitar in professional wrestling, whether it's a wooden guitar or an electric guitar, the gimmick to explode on impact. This motherfucker grabbed a legit non-gimmick electric guitar and cracked it over Moxley's back. So, yeah. He threw that down and was like, okay, that's it. Referees help out Moxley up to the ramp, and he just ends up shoving them both away. Omega runs out and hits him in the head with a garbage can. Yes, Moxley got his hands up for this one, but he still got him on the head some. Omega then hits the double underhook dirty deeds to Jon Moxley, and Jon Moxley, the final thing that you see as Fyter Fest is going off the air is Jon Moxley smiling at what he has done. He has brought out the
my dad was watching the recount for New Japan Pro Wrestling on the Bullet Club, and of course one of those episodes was talking about when Kenny Omega returned to New Japan and joined the Bullet Club, and how he became sadistic and probably lost all of his humanity. Well, this looked like the Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega had put that away for years and is bringing this back out while he's beating the shit out of Jon Moxley. So, are we going to see that sadistic side of Kenny Omega that hasn't been seen in a good while, or is this just a one-time thing? All Out cannot come soon enough. I cannot wait till August 30th? The 31st, whatever the day is. Yeah, the last day of August. I cannot wait. Because this is going to be a bloodbath. I think that's not going to be a normal match. I think that's going to have a stipulation on it. Jon Moxley fired the first shot. And Kenny Omega just gave him his receipt tonight. That was just one hell of a match to finish out Fyter Fest. But this show was definitely two thumbs up. I don't know what we got at Stomping Grounds. Yes, there were some good to great matches at Stomping Grounds. And by the way, the Joey Janela, Jon Moxley match in 2 Sundays from today, because it is 12:46 a.m. as I record this. 2 Sundays from today, WWE is going to hold their annual Extreme Rules pay-per-view. You want to know something? What we saw between Joey Janela and Jon Moxley is going to be more extreme than anything we'll see on that pay-per-view. We have 5 matches announced for that show. How many of those matches actually have extreme stipulations right now? 0. None. Nada. Extreme Rules, when it first started back in, 2007, 2008, 2009, 10, something like that, every match had a stipulation on it. Every single match. And then as the years go on, they would go less and less and less, where we'll probably have 1 or 2 matches this year that have a stipulation on it, if any. How are you going to keep calling a show Extreme Rules when you're not even having any extreme stipulations on that show? Absolutely fucking ridiculous and ludicrous. So, another great show. The AEW, man, that t-shirt company is doing big things. The fact that there are people still calling this a t-shirt company is fucking sad. Absolutely fucking sad. That is your Fyter Fest review for June 29th, June 30th, 2019. It was yesterday, as you will see this. But we are not done here, because we are going to get into what we need to talk about when it comes to unscripted news, because we have some things to talk about. Let me just remove that, and let me just remove that. Okay, now we're going to get into unscripted episode number 76 for June 30th, 2019, as we continue on here. As we know, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT this week, Raw and SmackDown were trash. Raw and SmackDown were terrible. The 24/7 rule. When you have a poll of your champions, who is the most popular champion? This was like 2 weeks ago, I believe. The most popular champion is the person holding the 24/7 championship. There's a problem. There is an absolute problem with your booking if the WWE champion, the Universal champion, your women's champions, your tag team champions, and your Intercontinental and US champion, or your women's tag team champions are getting beat out by a 24/7 championship. That is absolutely sad. But Seth Rollins went to war on Twitter with Will Ospreay. Twitter beef between Universal Champion Seth Rollins and IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay continued after this week's Raw. It's been noted that Rollins has been aggressively defending and praising WWE as the best professional wrestling on the planet. This week led to responses from AEW's Chris Jericho, Ospreay, and Tama Tonga, plus WWE's Roman Reigns and the Usos. Rollins' original tweet praised the WWE's following Sunday's Stomping Ground pay-per-view. He wrote, "Best pro wrestling on the planet, period." That was before Stomping Grounds. And he said that, and then went out and gave us that turd of a match, that shit of a match with Baron Corbin. That was probably one of the worst matches in Seth Rollins' entire WWE career. And yet, you went out there and said, best pro wrestling on the planet. Give me a fucking break. He later doubled down after the Stomping Ground kickoff pre-show match that saw Drew Gulak capture the Cruiserweight Championship. Rollins said, doubling down, best pro wrestling on the planet. See that Cruiserweight triple threat? And that's just one night, one match amongst the many. Find everyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do as often as I do. You can't. Hashtag Stomping Grounds, hashtag Universal Champion. Ospreay, one of the many who responded to the original tweet from the architect, the New Japan star, to Rollins' double down tweet and wrote, I'm alive, over here. Rollins fired back and said WWE already had a better version of Ricochet and said, oh, I'm sorry, little guy. We already have a better version of you here, and he just won his first U.S. title. Congrats at King Ricochet. Keep working hard, though, buddy. Ospreay would respond to the little guy tweet with a skit that said, oh, you are hard. You're hard. Ospreay fired another shot at Raw after Raw and wrote, fact of the day, Will Ospreay wrestle more matches in 2019 than WWE Rollins? Catch up, little guy. Kiss emoji. Rollins came back with a late night response and offered to compare bank accounts. He said his match count includes a month off with his back injury. Rollins wrote, I mean, if you want to talk numbers, we can compare bank accounts too. P.S. That's counting a month off with a broken back. Thumbs up emoji, buddy. First off, if you were comparing, you came out before your next pay-per-view, which was Stomping Grounds, and said, best professional wrestling in the world, and then said, find anybody alive who does what I do better than I do on a daily basis. You can't. And then you are getting utterly destroyed on Twitter, and you come back and say, oh yeah, want to check bank accounts? You lost. You're dating Becky Lynch, of all people. You're dating the man, the Twitter queen. And you can't find a better comeback than, oh, let's check bank accounts. Ospreay responded, you love adding stuff, don't you? I mean, the original question was, find anyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do, and as often as I do it. No talk of money, no talk of Ricochet. You said anyone. Here I am. Just as consistent, just as good. Hope that back heals up. During this exchange, Ospreay tweeted a photo with his girlfriend, World Stardom Champion Pete Priestley, NXT UK Women's Champion Toni Storm. He wrote 3 champions, 3 companies, 3 contracts, all busted their butts on the indies. Just be happy for one another and have a drink. Hashtag WWE, hashtag AEW, hashtag NJPW, hashtag independent. Again, Rollins, I think Becky should have took the phone away from you because, quite honestly, you lost the minute you said, "Oh yeah, well, let's compare bank accounts." So yeah, I think you kind of lost on that exchange. I know Brian Alvarez said that he is blocked by Seth Rollins, and even he said, "I think someone needs to take the phone away from Seth Rollins." It's just unfathomable. You have the savage tweet queen and Becky Lynch as your fucking girlfriend, and you can't even beat Will Ospreay at the Twitter game. God, man. Open mouth, insert foot. That's all you have to say. The minute you mentioned money. Oh, well, yeah. It's like, oh yeah? Well, I make more money than you. Huh, what are you going to say about that? It makes you sound so stupid, Rollins. It really does. He did more. He opened his mouth and inserted his foot even more, taking shots at his so-called best friend, Jon Moxley. Universal Champion Seth Rollins spoke with Sports Illustrated Media Podcast this week and addressed comments made by Jon Moxley during his recent Talkish Jericho podcast. Ambrose can do what he wants, Rollins said. He's a big boy. He's got the big boy pants on. He can go out there and say whatever he wants. But the bottom line is, not everybody's equipped to handle the rigors of WWE and the schedule and how it affects you mentally and emotionally. And Ambrose gave everything he had to the company for the entire time he was here, put his heart and soul into the travel, into the schedule, into the injuries, into the work in the ring and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he took his ball and went home, or went elsewhere at least. And I think it's a little presumptuous of him to get on a podcast and talk about a company that gave him such opportunities. First and foremost, Rollins, he didn't take his ball and went home. He took his ball to be better and go do what he loves to do. Second, Did you listen to the whole podcast? Because right out of the gate, the very first 2-3 minutes of that entire podcast, he praised WWE for him growing up, allowing him to grow up, meeting his wife, all the accomplishments that he had. He praised WWE before he ripped them a new one because he had it wouldn't. I think, in my opinion, had he not opened the podcast the way he did with Jericho and praised them for everything that they gave him, every opportunity they gave him, he would have came off as a bitter guy. But with the fact that he came out there and praised them, the fact that he met his wife there, traveled all the world with them, got to do so many cool things, go to charities and do all that shit, that means that he appreciates what he did, but still he wasn't happy there anymore. Rollins went about his love for the former Dean Ambrose, but said they share different perspectives about life. Rollins acknowledged that Moxley did talk some of the good experience with WWE, like meeting wife Renee, but Rollins still took issue with how Moxley expressed his thoughts. Rollins noted that he keeps tabs on Moxley, and he knows Moxley is doing very well for himself in post-WWE life. And like I said, I love the guy. I love him. I'll always love him, but at the end of the day, we just share different perspectives about what we want out of life and about where we're in on our own lives. I hope that he does well. I've kept enough tabs on him to know that he's doing super well for himself right now, and I'm happy for that. But I just don't think there's any reason to hop on a soapbox and complain about the fact. You need to take the first step, and that's looking in the mirror and asking yourself, did you do every single thing you possibly could to make yourself in your situation what you want it to be? And if the answer is yes, you did, then you can go elsewhere and complain. If that's where he was at mentally, then go right ahead. But if he hasn't done that, he hasn't looked in the mirror and made that decision, then maybe he should think about that. Goes for any other disgruntled past or present. Big topic coming out of Moxley's first post interview with Jericho had the issue with Vince McMahon and heavily scripted creative process, wondering if Vince should be calling the shot still. Rollins, of course, talked about how much some talents, those who have that power, speak up and be heard. Rollins noted that he's happy with his amount of input he has with the overall process, also pointing out his experience of the champion. Says, and I quote, "Absolutely, I'm satisfied." With it because I make a point to be satisfied with it. Rollins said, "Of course, instead of the creative process, I make a point to contribute my ideas and my thoughts, and if it feel strongly about something the way it should be or the way it should be portrayed, then I will make my voice be heard. And look, not everyone gets that leeway, and also not everyone should get that leeway. That's not how it works." Moxley was in that same boat. He put his input in and got shot down. He tried to contribute, and Vince McMahon did not want to hear what he had to say. When the Shield broke up, Moxley even pointed this out. When the Shield originally broke up, it was going to be Roman and Seth, and Moxley was going to be the third wheel. Moxley was portrayed to be the third wheel of that group. That means when the group broke up, he was going to go over the mid-card, and if Vince McMahon had his way, Moxley, if he was still in WWE today, would be chasing after the 24/7 championship and not doing a goddamn thing. Important. But he got over with the fans, and WWE went with him. So you have to go with it. You have to build the equity with your audience, with your boss, with your co-workers. You have to build equity over time, and you get that leeway to have that kind of say in your story. If that's your complaint, or you can stand by yourself and do it instead of going somewhere and bitching about it. I'm very satisfied with the amount of input I have. Do I do things that I don't always want to do? Yes, but you know what? Sometimes that stuff works because I can't see things perfectly every single time. I don't have the perspective that other people have around me. Vince McMahon has been doing this 20 plus years longer than I've been alive. So he got some ideas and he knows things that I just don't know that I have to learn. Seth, here's the thing. Moxley should have had that equity. He had that equity to when he got over with the fans, and WWE gave him all the chances that all the things that he could do. But somewhere along the way, Vince McMahon decided that, no, I'm going to make this guy, I'm going to embarrass this guy. I'm going to make him look like an idiot. Oh, you want the heel turn? You want to be a bad guy? Fine, but we're going to do it my way. We're not going to do it your way. We're going to do it my way. And what happened? The heel turn that happened was fucking fantastic. That was a great heel turn. And then what happened? He came out looking like fucking Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, and that was pathetic. What else can you say? Yes, some people should have the leeway, and yes, when you have somebody who comes up from NXT or whatever, and they're not over with the fans completely, or they're not a big deal that they should be. Yeah, they shouldn't have all that input. But a guy like a Finn Balor, a guy like an Andrade, a guy like Shinsuke fucking Nakamura should have a little bit better say in what they do with their characters. Same thing with an Andrade and an Aleister Black and Mustafa Ali. Buddy Murphy, who hasn't even been fucking seen since they took him off 205 Live. He hasn't had an on-air TV match since Wrestle fucking Mania. But yet you think that everything is all good. You have those rose-tinted glasses on. What are you going to do if your relationship with Becky Lynch does not get over with the fans and people start turning away and saying this is just being shoved down our throats? They take the title off of you and you're back to being a nobody. What are you going to fucking do, Seth? You're going to be in that same position. You're like, oh, I'm fine. Everything's good here because my fucking career is good. But it's not. It isn't. You're the Universal Champion. And of course, What Culture just did a video of the top 10 worst simultaneous champions in WWE history. You want to know who number 10 is? Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins, because both their championship reigns have been a fucking joke. They have been. Can't tell me otherwise. Their title reigns have been an absolute fucking joke. What are you gonna do about it, huh, Seth? Huh? You're gonna come on when things get a little bit out of the way and WWE goes in a different direction, they take the title off of you, and then you go from being the top dog to being the just bottom of the barrel again. I understand, yes, he is the flag bearer of Monday Night Raw. He's the company guy right now. But what is Seth Rollins going to say, and what's Seth Rollins going to do when he's in Moxley's position? When he's pitching ideas to WWE, he's trying to get what he wants to do out there to the crowd, and they keep turning him down. They say, nope, Vince McMahon wants it this way, this is the way you're going to do it. Don't get me started on Bischoff and Heyman, because we'll get to that soon. But he's in a good position right now. He's Universal Champion. He's dating one of the most popular superstars in WWE. What's he going to do when their popularity fades away and Duncan disappears? What's he going to do when he's in that position that Moxley was in, where instead of being happy and getting things go his way at least most of the time, to getting nothing going his way, and he is a shell of his former self? Is he going to want out? Is he going to go to AEW, Japan, Ring of Honor, or somewhere else? Or is he just going to toe the company line and say, I'm fine here, everything will work out in the end? Only time will tell, but how dare you go out there and say that this guy is bitching and complaining? He's telling the fucking truth. He's going on this. He went on Chris Jericho's podcast. He went to other people's places, other people's interviews and stuff, and he told the fucking truth. He didn't come off as bitching. He didn't come off as complaining. He came off as a guy that was genuine, unhappy in WWE. If you got a problem with it, I'm sure you can go find him and you guys can hash it out. Sit there and stay in your lane, Seth, because quite honestly, you sound like a fucking jackass. Keeping on with a Twitter feud with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay believes Seth Rollins is bothered by the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship meaning more than the WWE Universal Championship. IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion Will Ospreay spoke with Wrestling Observer Radio this week and commented on the Twitter back and forth between him and Seth Rollins. The interview was done before the exchange continued after Monday Night Raw, with Rollins' compared bank accounts comment. After praising WWE as the best pro wrestling on the planet and later doubling down on the praise, Rollins wrote, "Find anyone else alive who does what I do as well as I do, as often as I do. You can't." Ospreay responded with that comment and wrote, "I'm alive." Rollins then fired back and said, "We already have a better version of Ospreay, Ricochet." Ospreay spoke with Wrestling Observer and said he doesn't believe there's anything malicious behind the comments, but he believes it bothers Rollins that the New Japan titles mean more than the WWE title that Rollins holds right now. He said, and I quote, "I don't think there's anything malicious behind it at all." Ospreay says, "So the question he asked is, find me someone alive that has the type of schedule I do and that can do what I do. All I just said was, I'm alive. I am very much alive." And the thing that makes me laugh more about it is he brought up Ricochet and tried to tear me down. It's like, dude, you brought in another person too. You don't have to do that. You can just be like, oh, okay, maybe we can have a match one day. But I think the thing is, maybe it just gets under his skin that like my championship, my junior championship means more than his Universal Championship. I don't know. Who knows? It's factual. And quite honestly, he's absolutely right. If you held up a replica of the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship or the Universal Championship, and you told me I get to choose one of those ones to take and have as a gift for whatever. Every single time I'm taking the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship because it means more. The matches that like Shingo Takagi versus Will Ospreay, Best of the Super Junior Finals to see who's going to face Dragon Lee at Dominion, which was a couple days later. Those two tore the house down because they wanted that opportunity. Look at the last two pay-per-views. Look at the next pay-per-view coming up, and the last three pay-per-views. The last two pay-per-views and the one coming up. It's been Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins, Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. This title has been an absolute fucking joke. First off, the title was introduced by Mick Foley, which, with the 24/7 title being introduced this year, Mick Foley is 0 for 2 for championships being introduced, by the way. But that title was made fun of. The people shit on the match that Seth Rollins and Finn Balor had to crown the first ever Universal Champion. And then the winner of that match was injured in that match. And then Kevin Owens was the second champion, the longest reigning at the time, who did not have a good title reign. And then Goldberg won it, had a piss poor title reign because he only held it for a month to get it on Brock Lesnar. And then Brock Lesnar held it from WrestleMania 33 all the way to SummerSlam 2018. That is 500 and so odd days. And you want to know how many times he defended that title? I believe it was like less than 10. The title meant nothing. This is not 1970s, this is not 1980s, this is not the early 90s, the early 90s, where the champion doesn't show up for every single big event, but the champion should be on the show at least once or twice a month. Brock Lesnar didn't do that. And on top of that, while he was away, the secondary title that was on Raw was made to look like a joke. So even when that title was away, Raw didn't have any championship that people really wanted to fight for. But yeah, then Roman wins the title at SummerSlam, holds it until he goes away for his leukemia treatment, and then Brock Lesnar wins it a month later and holds it till WrestleMania. So as of right now, Brock Lesnar has, I believe, 80% of the lifespan of the Universal Championship. And that's not a good thing. The title is a joke. The title looks like it's a ripoff of the WWE Championship. It's just, it's yes. If I was to go and see and have a title, it would be, and I had to choose between the Universal Championship or the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, I would go with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship every day. The Universal Championship, as long as Brock Lesnar is in the hunt for it, will never recover from the trash that it's had from day one. Just saying. Until Brock Lesnar is like, I'm done, I'm retired or anything, it has zero chance to recover. And the Seth Rollins title run that we have right now is a piss poor title run, and it's not his fault. It's WWE's booking. Outside of NXT and NXT UK, if you're a champion on the main roster, your championship is a joke. Seth Rollins lost to Baron Corbin a couple weeks ago. WWE is another reason why titles don't mean anything on the main roster. You have champions lose. Bayley lost to Nikki Cross this past Tuesday. Ricochet, the day after he won the United States Championship, loses to fucking AJ Styles. And people are like, oh, it's a great story because AJ Styles is like one of the elites and it shows that Ricochet's not on his level. It's like, bitch, please. Ricochet is on that level of AJ Styles. If you don't think that, you're a fucking idiot. But that's what you get. People are fucking stupid. The championships don't mean anything because champions lose all the time. The women's tag team championships mean absolutely nothing. You took them off Bayley and Sasha Banks, put them on the Idiotics at WrestleMania, in one of the worst, terrible moments. I don't care if those two girls were so happy that they won them. It was a joke. They won a tag team match against the Brooklyn Bombers or whatever the fuck that team was, a bullshit team. And then they went on like a 12-13 match losing streak. And then they won a match with Nikki. The next match they won, I believe, was another jobber match. And then they won last week, or the week before Stomping Grounds, thanks to Bayley, which makes Bayley look terrible as well. Those titles mean nothing. Name me one championship on the main roster that actually has meaning. And again, if you're they did a poll, who's the most popular champion in WWE right now? And it's your 24/7 champion, there's a problem. Raw and Smackdown, as we move on here, has the lowest attendance in a long time. There were reportedly 3,500 fans in attendance for Monday Night Raw from the Angel of Winds Arena in Everett, Washington, according to Dave Meltzer. This would be one of the smallest Raw crowds in history. The attendance number is especially bad because there was a Raw coming out of WWE Stomping Grounds, which also did a low attendance. 4,500 were ticketed, and they were up to 6,000, so about 1,500 were papered. It was noted that this Raw drew less than the February 5th SmackDown taping from the same arena, but it was reported back in February that those tapings drew 3,000 fans. Another weak crowd for SmackDown as well, which was in the Moda Center, which is home of the Portland Trail Blazers. There were pictures showing how piss poor this show was. It drew about half of what Monday Night Raw drew. And I thought a number on here, but I guess I don't. Speaking of Stomping Grounds drew the lowest buys in the current era. As we know, WWE has their network now. Most people buy the network. But Sunday's Stomping Ground pay-per-view reportedly did an estimate 9,800 pay-per-view buys in the United States, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter radio. This would be a record low on buys for WWE in this era. The previous low in the current era would have been 11,000 buys for the recent Super Showdown pay-per-view from Saudi Arabia. It should be noted that almost no one buys pay-per-view events these days due to the network, but around 10% of the viewership still buys them on the traditional pay-per-view platform. Pay-per-view events average about 15,000 to 16,000 buys in this era, with some of the bigger events around 20,000 buys. WrestleMania reportedly drew 100,000 buys this past April, which I'm not surprised with the fact that WrestleMania is the be-all, end-all show. It is like the biggest show of the year for WWE. Casuals come to see what happens at WrestleMania, so a lot more people buy that pay-per-view. The low number of Stomping Grounds pay-per-view buys just adds to the overall bad numbers for the first ever event under that name. Probably will be the last. It was noted how the half of the Tacoma Dome in Washington was carted off due to bad attendance. While there was a decent line to walk up tickets on the day of the show, a lot of free tickets were given out on the day of the event, and many 2-for-1 deals were sold. An estimated 6,000 fans attended Stomping Grounds, which would have been one of the smallest WWE pay-per-view crowds in a long time. The paid attendance for the pay-per-view was to be about 4,000 to 5,000, and the Tacoma Dome can hold about 18,000 fans after production. That is sad. Well, what do you expect? WWE fans are getting tired of this product. Fans are getting tired of the same thing over and over and over again. Why would you give us Baron Corbin at Super Showdown and then go, well, that was a terrible match. Let's give him another one at Stomping Grounds. Let's see. Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston gave us an okay match. Let's give him another one. Lacey Evans did a shitty piss poor match at Money in the Bank. Let's give her another one. Oh, remember that piss poor match at Extreme Rules in 2017 with Bayley and Alexa Bliss? Let's give them another one. You keep giving us shit that nobody wants to see. And then we get to Extreme Rules this year. It's in the Wells Fargo Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Yes, the crowd should be a little bit better because this is a smart mark town, and I can see this crowd selling out for the simple fact is not because of The Undertaker, because these fans are going to go there and shit on the entire thing. You think the main event got shit on in Stomping Grounds? Wait till we get the fucking Extreme Rules. And again, 5 matches, none of them have a stipulation on them. None of them. Rename Extreme Rules. With the new Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman being executive directors, please get into Vince's head that we don't need Hell in a Cell every year. We don't need Extreme Rules every year because it doesn't matter. We don't need TLC every year. Give us WCW or ECW with some kind of fucking pay-per-view name that actually isn't a gimmick. Why call it Extreme Rules when there's no stipulations so far? And like I said, Jon Moxley and Joey Janela just had a very extremely dangerous match. We won't see even a fifth of what we saw tonight. Last night, I should say. Apparently, with how bad Stomping Grounds was, Raw and SmackDown were this week, WWE was being called into a meeting with Fox. That's Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, Shane McMahon, and Vince McMahon, and I believe Kevin Dunn. That was happening tonight or tomorrow, I believe. All of a sudden on Thursday, WWE named Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman executive directors of Raw and Smackdown. Eric Bischoff has become the new executive director of SmackDown, while Heyman was becoming the executive director of Raw. Both will report directly to Chairman Vince McMahon. Let me repeat that last line. Both will report to Vince McMahon. The new roles of full-time executive roles. There are no current plans for these roles to be introduced as part of a storyline on TV. Bischoff will work directly with Fox executives as the Blue Brand plans to premiere on Friday nights in October. The major move will allow WWE to establish two distinct creative processes for its flagship shows. Bullshit! Oh, I'm sorry. When I read bullshit, I have to sneeze a little bit. They report to Vince McMahon. Everyone who's like, oh, this is great change, this is awesome, this is going to do great things. They report to Vince McMahon. Everything goes through Vince McMahon. Nothing is going to change. Not a damn thing is going to change. This is the full press release, and I'm not going to go into because it's whatever. And let's see. Noted in the executive roles, Heyman and Bischoff will oversee the creative development of Raw's WWE's flagship programs to ensure integration across all platforms and lines of business. The creation of these roles further establishes WWE's ability to continuously reinvent its global brand while providing two distinct creative processes for its flagship shows. Really? You don't think you should have had this shit in place when the brand split started in 2016? Oh, that's right, there was no such thing as AEW. Don't you think you should have had this thing last year when Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live was in the shit still? Oh, that's right, AEW didn't exist. People, this is only happening because All Elite Wrestling is picking up steam. All Elite Wrestling looking to kick WWE's ass, and they don't even have to do anything. AEW just put on a hell of a fucking show. Takeover quality. Probably better. And yet, this is WWE's answer to all this shit. PW Insider reports that WWE has been talking to Heyman about the new rule as far back as February. Bullshit. The deal between Bischoff came together within the past few weeks. Of course. Because AEW is on the rise. AEW is kicking WWE's ass. AEW Double or Nothing put on a better pay-per-view than WWE's main roster has all fucking year long. These roles are only here because Raw's ratings are in the tank, Raw's attendance are in the tank, Stomping Grounds was a pile of shit when it comes to attendance. Like I said, in between the main event matches and the Lacey Evans-Becky Lynch match, the other matches were fine. SmackDown's attendance are in the shitter. SmackDown's ratings are in the shitter. SmackDown hasn't been above a 2 in 3 weeks. Do you really think Fox is going to allow that shit when we get to SmackDown on Fridays? And again, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Fox, SmackDown's going to have a big challenge anyway because SmackDown on Fridays didn't do too well back in the day when it was on Friday, when it's Friday Night SmackDown was a thing. And WWE has to try and get their fans, or wrestling fans, to stay inside especially during this time of the year, or this time of the year. It's like, oh, hey kids, it's summertime, but don't go out with your friends. Stay inside and watch WWE. It's not going to happen. Let's see. WWE reportedly made an offer for Heyman to come full-time as a top member of the creative team around the same time Bruce Pritchard was hired as senior vice president a few months ago. It was noted how Heyman has been working on various storylines with certain talents, including Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey. And honestly, you could tell halfway through Rousey's tenure that she was improving on the mic, she was improving with her ring presence, and you can tell that was all Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar, of course, he's been working with Brock since Brock Lesnar came back in 2012. Paul Heyman was nowhere to be found. And then, a week or two later, Paul Heyman was back in WWE because Brock Lesnar did not want to deal with the whole microphone thing. He called him up and said, "You make a deal because I don't want to be the one talking anymore." Bischoff has been working on pre-production of Netflix planned biography on Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan and had a number of personal appearances booked. He likely came to terms with WWE over the last week as he started quietly canceling some of his personal appearances. While Bischoff and Heyman are still reporting to Vince, they are essentially running Raw and SmackDown. It'll be interesting to see how Triple H and others factor into the latest creative shakeup. I don't see a damn thing happening, period. But apparently, former TNA officials are baffled they hired Bischoff, which I can't blame them. Were you there in 2010-11 when Bischoff was running part of TNA? Didn't go so well there, did it? In a new WWE Now video, Kathy Kelly looks at the buzz surrounding the latest creative shakeup. It is possible to see significant creative changes to SmackDown and Raw as soon as Monday and Tuesday, as Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio. And he said Bischoff and Heyman will begin their new roles immediately. It's unknown if that means right now or next week or soon after, but he should have an update on them when they are starting soon. Meltzer noted that Fox officials had no idea that the executive director hires were coming, but it was indicated that they did want to work with Paul Heyman. So you have this big billion-dollar deal coming up with Fox, and you say that you've been working with Paul Heyman and getting Eric Bischoff in, and yet you don't tell them that you're going to make this announcement. No. You don't even get their input. If I'm Fox, this is a red flag to me. This is a big, huge red flag to me that they didn't even think it was wise enough to contact the executives at Fox and be like, hey, on Thursday, we're going to make an announcement of this and this happening. What do you guys think? And then they're like, oh, we want Heyman, not Bischoff. And here's my thing. Paul Heyman is known as the guy who loves working with the younger talent, nurturing the younger talent, building the younger talent to be the next big stars. Bischoff's there's more of making the veterans shine, or making use of the big veterans. Why would you want Raw to be like, you want the big names on Raw, while Heyman uses SmackDown for the feeder system? That's what they should have been doing. NXT call-ups could go to SmackDown. NXT call-ups, you could have NXT call-ups come to SmackDown, be there for 6 or 7 months, and then they do some kind of trade and they go to Raw after they're ready. That would have been great, but the fact that you put Bischoff on SmackDown makes absolutely no sense to me. Bischoff will be working closely with Fox officials as the Blue Brand prepares to premiere on Fox Friday nights in October. Unrelated note, Bischoff's full-time return to WWE has surprised a lot of people. Meltzer noted that people who work with Bischoff in TNA that are working with WWE now were more baffled by the news. It looks like the former WCW president will continue to be involved with his 83-week Bischoff podcast. John Pollock noted on Twitter that there will be no change regarding Bischoff in the podcast, which features Starrcast founder Conrad Thompson as the host. The podcast takes a weekly look at Bischoff's time in the business, mainly in WCW. It'll be interesting to see if the WWE continues to, as Bischoff gets settled in, the podcast continues as Bischoff gets settled into his new gig with WWE. Heyman and WWE just recently came to terms on a new role, but they have been going back and forth on the new deals for a long time. The former ECW boss has been in WWE's inner circle when it comes to creative process for some time, and they've been trying to get him to do everything. He also worked with Alexa Bliss, I guess, too, which, quite honestly, makes sense with that promo that was cut before Stomping Grounds between Alexa Bliss and Bayley. That felt Paul Heyman-esque. If that's the shit that we're getting with Paul Heyman, with what we got with Bayley and Alexa Bliss, then people's promos we'll see better promo work out of our superstars. The very first thing that these two need to do, go to Vince McMahon and fire all the creative. Everybody who is creative, fire them. We don't need them. The creative does nothing anyway. Let Paul Heyman and Bischoff hire 4 or 5 of their own guys to help build this company to where it needs to be. That's the first thing they need to do, is shake up creative. Kill the wild card rule, kill the 24/7 championship, and make these brands separate again. Pay-per-views, there needs to be 1 pay-per-view a month. If it's a single brand pay-per-view, Backlash, Clash of Champions is coming on in September. That should be SmackDown. Then Raw has between SummerSlam and October to build up storylines, build up characters, to build towards that pay-per-view. And then, SmackDown has between Clash of Champions and Survivor Series to build up characters and build up stories. They could have a big blowout episode of SmackDown Live around the pay-per-view time so they can have themselves a good show. They need to go back to separating the brands 110%. No more inter-branding for either show. The brand split needs to be back in full force. The only time these two teams face each other, or these two shows face each other, is in the Royal Rumble match and Survivor Series, and that is it. Regarding Bischoff's return, WWE looked at his previous work with Turner Broadcasting, Spike, and other networks in building past TV series, and that was one of the reasons they hired him for the role, according to PW Insider. Of course, the deal was inked in the last few weeks. It was while there were still reports of Vince, Heyman, and Bischoff will essentially be running Raw and Smackdown. One source compared the new roles to Triple H's role in NXT, and that they will be in charge, but this is still Vince's company. He still has the final say-so. There's no one yet on how Triple H and others will factor into the shakeup. Heyman is expected to continue his on-TV role as mouthpiece for Lesnar. Despite this not being part of any TV storyline, as of now, there's already speculation of when we will see Bischoff return to TV, if brought back at all. There was an advertisement for the local advertisement of SmackDown. I don't know where they're at next week. Has Bischoff prominently in the center, prominently on the advertisement. So apparently he might be showing up on SmackDown this week. Honestly, if you want Bischoff and Heyman to have a speech about how things are going to change, the old shtick of things are not the way, things are about to change. We're going to shake things up, yada yada yada. If they want to say, hey, the brand split's going to be, the wild card rule is dead. The 24/7 championship is done, and we're going to be splitting. They're going to have these things split completely again. That's all they want to say, and then they leave, and we don't see them again. Outside of course, Heyman with Brock Lesnar. That is absolutely fine. Do not make it a storyline. Eric Bischoff is. Let me see here. Said the report, the Bischoff and Heyman are officially on the job with the new rules. The idea of and contributions will reportedly be implemented over time, indicating we wouldn't expect any massive overnight changes immediately taking place. Of course not. We had the Viking Raiders versus the New Day on Monday, so the wildcard rule is not going anywhere. Somebody needs to snap it in Vince McMahon's head that the wildcard rule needs to go. Even though that match still should be good, but that match should be saved for a pay-per-view. Maybe the Viking Raiders and the New Day are going to be on Team Raw and SmackDown for Survivor Series. I don't know. But still, we'll get on Bischoff and Heyman appearing on TV. After the conflicting reports earlier due to the arena email blast, you can end it. Now, do I see anything happening for Heyman and Bischoff? No. They both report to Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon has it in his head that he still is the be-all, end-all, that everything he says is right for this company, and nobody's going to tell him any otherwise. People were wondering, why didn't they offer this to Triple H? Apparently, they did offer the Triple H, and they said, apparently the offer was, Triple H, you can run SmackDown, but you have to juggle NXT and 205 Live. And Triple H is probably it was like, no, I'm good, because he runs NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live right now. Triple H is one guy. Triple H knows that he can't run the entire WWE, though Vince McMahon tries to do that. So that's why we don't have Triple H in that role, which is fine. Eventually, Triple H is grooming Shawn Michaels to take over NXT UK. Eventually, I think Road Dogg's going to end up taking over NXT when Triple H eventually moves over and takes over for Vince McMahon. I feel it's going to be X-Pac is going. Sean Waltman's probably going to get a job in the Performance Center as well, and he'll probably be helping Road Dogg help run the NXT brand when Triple H goes to the main roster. I just have a feeling about that. I believe